Intro. So, good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining us for our first Legacy Loop session after the summer break. We hope that you've all had a lovely summer and that you're having lots of success around Remember Charity Week and with your current campaigns. Hopefully, also, everybody's enjoying the lovely autumn sunshine that we're having at the moment, too. So, today, Oliver is going to share some results and insights from our Make Will Online Will survey that we commissioned with YouGov. I'll let Oliver introduce this session shortly, but first I wanted to give a little bit of an update regarding the legacy section of the fundraising code of practice. There was a bit in there where they stipulated where charities were using will providers that they should offer a choice of at least two providers. So we've been in correspondence with the fundraising regulator over the last few months to gain sort of some further clarification on what the term provider actually meant, and asked if giving details of the Law Society Finder solicitor service was sufficient to comply with that part of the code of practice. And they said, yes, that was sufficient. However, in the latest update, they've now removed that stipulation from the legacy section of the code of practice. So it's completely not there anymore. As part of our service, we feel that it is best practice to let supporters know when they should be doing their will face-to-face, i.e. if they have complex wills, complex needs, or perhaps if they're unwell, etc. And it's good practice to give a referral to a face-to-face provider but where you don't have access to one, the Law Society Finder Solicitor link will work well for those who may need to do their will face-to-face. So I'll put the link to the code of practice in the chat in a while. So if anybody's not had a look at it, maybe after, you can have a check at it as well. And also, another bit of news is from me, I'm going to be doing a free legacy landing page health check for everybody, all our partners, where I'll be visiting your gifts and wills pages and reviewing them, plus our service details as well. And I'll be doing this over the autumn, and I'll send some feedback through to you once I've done it. But if anybody would like to do it together over Zoom, it will be more fun to do it together over Zoom, I feel. Then just book a meeting with me using my meeting booking link, and that'll be absolutely fabulous. And then quickly, just to plug our next session, October Legacy Loop, is going to be on the 22nd of October. In the afternoon, though, 2 p.m, and that's Driving Action in Gifts and Wills Fundraising with Dr. Claire Outley. I'll pop the link in the chat as well later on if anybody can register for that. And that's going to be looking at turning interest into action. It's one of the biggest challenges in gifts and wills fundraising. So Claire is going to reveal how research can help us close the gap and grow legacy giving. And then just a little bit of housekeeping. If you've got any questions, put them in the chat and we'll deal with them. And if you want to add your charity name, if you've not got it on your Zoom, that would be really helpful. And now over to you, Oliver.
Thank you very much indeed, Marie. Yeah, that's it's really great news that our communication with the fundraising regulator ended up in better clarity for everybody, and I think a kind of sensible approach and a flexible approach. So well done. That was entirely you, I think. Today, I'm going to be talking with you all about some work that we did. We commissioned YouGov to do some research into the state of gifts and wills, find out what people are doing, what people are thinking when they're making wills. And I want to run through this with you all as a more interactive session. I'd love to know what threads you can pull out, and please do share in the chat, or there'll be breakouts and time at the end. What threads you can pull out for the benefit of your charities and your supporters when they are making wills and hopefully leaving gifts in those wills. I want to kick off by just reminding myself what our role as a legal services provider is within the sphere of fundraising and gifts in wills. I look at this a lot and make sure that we really stay in our lane. I do this because I don't want to overstep. I don't want us to overstep and tell you how to do your job. But at the same time, I really recognize that we see so much through our interactions with supporters, with people making their wills, that you don't. But just to cut to the core of what it is that Make a Will Online does with your supporters for you is we make it easy for supporters to turn their intention to leave a gift in their will into a reality. We are one of the solutions to do that. People can see their solicitors, see their will writers, and there are other providers that can do it remotely. But we want to make it as easy as possible for your supporters to turn their intention to leave a gift in their will into a reality. And this session is all about people's attitudes towards making wills. We also provide the data on what people are up to. Your supporters, as soon as they start the journey with us, through to when they complete their wills, we provide visibility on what they're doing and what they're choosing to remember. And you can use that information to improve your messaging and your communications with your inquirers or intenders. And obviously through Legacy Loop, we run sessions like this. And everything that I do today is for you. If you have any questions when I'm going through them, please, please, please shout them out, ask us. Now, in a dramatic break from tradition, I want to kick this session with you off out with a breakout. Hello, slides. What are you doing? Okay. I want in your breakout for you to first of all say a quick hello in groups of 4 or 5 and just run through in 5 minutes what your key gifts in will message to supporters is. What is it that you say to people who are thinking about leaving a gift in their will? What is the message that you lead with in the newsletter? What is the kind of distillation of the message that you say to your supporters? Please share that in the group, and then maybe 1 or 2 people in the group just pick out 1 or 2 of those to share, and then we can come back to those through the session when considering what your supporters are up to and what your supporters are thinking when they're making gifts in wills and making wills through our service. So Marie, please take us away with the first breakout. Well, welcome back, everybody, and thank you for that. Hopefully, you had a good and engaging conversation in the room. Can I just have 1 person from each room either quote one of the messages which you thought was particularly powerful, or could you say what themes were brought out and what themes were shared between the people in the room when it came to messaging about gifts in wills? We'll start with room 1.
I don't mind, but anyone jump in if I've got the wrong end of it. So we really talked about actually our gifting was messaging really reflecting the communities that we work in and the different types of groups that we work in. So I think that came out quite strongly in terms of people using that to drive their legacy messages and what that meant for future generations that might be impacted by the cause. I think I might have been alone in this, but I also feel like we do still lean, depending on which comms, quite heavily on the free wills messaging as well. So of course our propositions are underlying that, but actually if we're looking at sort of like calls to action and getting interest, then we do use that free will message alongside those sort of deeper propositions.
Great, thank you very much indeed, Mel. And someone from room 2, please.
I think that might have been us. I actually didn't write down the
Oh.
breakdown room number. Sorry, Oliver.
It's all right. Yeah, that's well, thank you for volunteering. Please, yeah, share any themes or messages that were particularly stood out.
I think actually to echo very much room one, we were chatting about the beneficiary audience is very much aligned to the messaging. So the difference that the gifts would give, so enabling research for cancer scientists, enabling care of endangered animals. So actually it was very much about the difference that the gift would enable for future generations.
Brilliant. Thank you. Thank you. Room three, please. Any volunteers? If you knew, if we don't, Marie, perhaps you could volunteer somebody.
So room 3 was Alex, Holly, Jenny, and Michelle.
I can go for room 3.
Thank you, Jenny.
Our messaging is probably the same as a lot of the other hospices at the moment, participating in the Hospice UK campaign. So ours is this is hospice care, and it is help hospice care live on for all, for now, forever is the key messaging around that. We combine it a little with our own campaign messaging, which is help us make more moments that matter. But that is generally, it's about breaking down barriers to accessing hospice care by removing some of the stigma associated with it. So we're demonstrating what hospice care is and how a gift left in your will can make it available for more people.
Great. Thank you very much. Room 4.
The room 4 was Joanna, Karen, Leslie, Phil, and Vicky.
Yeah, I'll go for room 4 if you want.
Cool.
Two of the strongest things that kind of came out was ours is particularly, I think, quite strong in the fact that 1 in 4 adults we care for are funded by gifts in wills. And Joanne was saying that theirs is very similar in the fact that 2 in 5 people that they care for are funded by gifts in wills. So I think from our point of view, we're trying to make it as specific as possible so people can actually see the benefit of leaving a legacy in their will.
Yeah. Yeah. Really, really powerful. Just goes to show what is achieved and what might not be if the people were to change their mind. And my room, please, which was Katie, Sam, and Vanessa. Room 5, please.
Yeah,
I
I'm
think- I
happy
guess-
to
Super.
go
Thank you,
through
Katie.
five. No problem. Yeah, so we had 2 environmental charities and a hospital charity. On the face of it, quite different, but the messaging seems quite similar in that we're talking about, again, future generation and future service users and how they experience the work of the charities. And those messages seem to be the ones that really resonate with people.
Yeah. Superb. Yeah, and it was really interesting to see how that kind of theme went through across different verticals, across different charities. Thank you very much indeed, everybody, for sharing that. And I want to try and pull back to some of the themes as we talk about what we are seeing in supporter habits, in the habits of people making wills, what people's drivers are, and what might be stopping people go. So when we worked through all of this with YouGov, we wanted to first of all find out what the need was. Now, when it comes to charities, I'll dig into the huge opportunities that are going to show up in just a minute. But the first thing we wanted to know is, who are we talking about? Who are we talking to here? So the first and most important question I thought was, what percentage of the population actually has a will? Because obviously without a will, there can be no gift in that will to a charity that the supporter cares about. And I've seen a lot of stats over the years, anything from 1/3 through to 3/4 of people having a will. We had an adjusted sample of just over 1,000 people that YouGov selected for us to give us a representation of the country as a whole. The first question was, do you have a last will and testament? Now, Ben Ant writing, I can reveal that we found that around about 42% of the adults up and down the country have a will, and 58% don't. Here we go. That's a better size snapshot. So your supporters, 42% of them have a will. I'm going to come on to what percentage of people would want to leave a gift in their will to charity in just a minute. Again, that's something where I've heard lots anecdotally, but not seen any actual evidence. 100% of these people should be communicated with about gifts and wills, because just because someone's got a will doesn't mean that they won't adjust it. In fact, there is an argument to say that if a supporter already has a will, they are a diligent person who's thinking about the future, and they are more likely to update their will to put a gift in it. But you will know that at least 42%, or on average 42% of your supporters will make one, or will have already done that. So next question we asked was really directed at the people who didn't have a will. Why aren't people making their wills? It was good to see the kind of the themes there. People think it's too expensive. Well, great. Make a free will with your favorite charity and leave them a gift. Going back to Mel's comment about what the call to actions were, they're the main kind of buckets of those. I think it's the keep putting it off, don't have time, don't want to think about it, and so on. That reaches 61% of the total. So that's the main enemy. It's kind of apathy or lack of time to do it. When you're thinking about the messaging to your supporters, I think that a lot of the things which we see anecdotally on our Trustpilot is the fact that everyone's quite surprised at how quick and easy it is to get their last will and testament done. So cost is a driver, but it's not the main driver for people to make their wills. I think it's a really good thing to offer, and I think way more than 10% of the people who've got that message in their head would go ahead and use your will services. But it's the apathy. It's the fact that it's the can that you can keep kicking down the road for as long as you want. But without a will in place, there can never be a gift to the supporter. So if a supporter is ready to express their love, that's by leaving a gift in their will. Getting them to complete that will is a real might be a real motivator, and it's not just good for you; it's good for everyone else they remember it in their will. Now, the third question that we asked our user base was, did you know that you can make a will online? I thought it's quite important for us to understand who's out there who's looking to make their will in that way. And also when we're working with our partner charities, are people seeing this idea of making a will online as something totally outlandish? Are they seeing it as something totally regular? Now, we found that more than half of people did know that they can make their will online, which is great. When we started in 2008, I think that figure would have been less than 10%. But now it's a really recognised way to make it. It's right for a lot of people as well. It's not right for everybody, which is why we come back to offering more than one way to make the will on your legacy landing pages. Question 4 was, did you know that will writing is not regulated and anyone can call themselves a will writer? Now, that's a lively debate. Just before this meeting, I was giving a talk to the Society of Will Writers, one of their regional groups, and they are all unregulated will writers, but on the whole, they do a good job. The gold standard is always solicitor drafted wills, but if a will writer is experienced, trained, got their CPD up to date, and they've got insurance, adequate insurance, then they can do a good job as well. The thing is, not a lot of people realise that it's not a regulated environment. Only 1/3 of people knew that there is such a thing as an unregulated will writer. So, in order to instill trust in your supporters, in order to make them feel more comfortable when they are doing things online, it's a really good idea to make sure they know that they're using a solicitor-led service. It's certainly a learning that I had to make. Question 5, don't worry, we'll be breaking for a another breakout to chew over these in the not too distant future. We asked, if price wasn't an issue, would you rather make a will in person or remotely, or however else? Now, there are a few different ways that people can make wills, but the way that people feel most comfortable is actually not great news for us. 48% of people wanted to go and sit in a solicitor's office. And again, that is a trend which is declining. I think you will have seen some of the reasons for people not wanting to make a will. It wasn't just apathy, it was also the fact they didn't want to do that very same thing. The second most popular way of making a will is now online, and that's, for us, fantastic news. People don't really want to make their will over the telephone. They don't really want to make their will on a video call. So although there are an increasing number of places where people can go to do that, we're talking to a very small proportion of the overall. So if you've got an option to help people speak with a solicitor, either through the Law Society or through things such as the Free Wills Network, or if you have an option online, you're covering you're covering 75% of the way that people prefer to do that. All right, one more. I've got another question for the breakouts.
Really glad to see that the 94% of people would feel safer if their will was checked by a qualified solicitor. Can everybody hear me, by the way? I'm just getting some messages.
Reconnecting.
You disappeared for a second, but you're back now.
Oh, super. Thank you, Alex.
Yeah, you just went in and out a little bit.
Okay. Well,
maybe just say what you said before you went onto this slide, maybe.
Absolutely.
I think.
So when people are making their wills, people would feel much safer if they knew that a solicitor was checking over the work. And when they are speaking with a solicitor face to face, that's a given. When they're making wills online, it's not always known. So we're proud to have a solicitor founded and run business, which will add to your supporters' peace of mind when they're completing their wishes. I'm going to run through my middle breakout slide has disappeared. So I'm just going to run through all 10 questions. Then we're going to get to the next breakout session, and then we'll tidy up with questions. So our question 7. what would people want to pay in order to see a solicitor? Nothing, 9%. That's 4% more than the people who would want to have one. So a bit of confusion in the responses there. But people are valuing everything being checked around about the value of what we charge. 40 knocking on 50% of people would be up to £50, and everyone else would be willing to pay anything up to £200 plus. So value for money wise, when people are speaking with us, I think they see us hitting the sweet spot of what a charity should be paying. So I know there's an ongoing debate around charities, how much should they pay for fundraising? And of course, this is just the delivery. It's not the cost of messaging to your supporters. So there we go. Yeah, 46% under 50 quid. The other, everyone else over 50 quid. Question 8. And this is the interesting one here. Would you consider leaving a gift to charity in your will? The drum roll, please. 57% of the adjusted total, over 1,000 people, want to leave a gift in their will to charity, and that's the main news from today. From our research, it is higher than I've ever claimed in any of my meetings. I know that we work with different consultants who've done, one of whom's done over 50,000 focus groups and has found anywhere between a third and a half of people want to leave a gift in their will. This is across population. This isn't just people who are giving up their time to help charities. This is an example of the general populace. 57% of people would consider leaving a gift in their will charity. Phenomenal news, and kind of to reinvigorate the wish just to get people making wills on our side, because we know that we're going to get a good level of gift inclusion. But when it comes to a selected group of people who are already supporters of your charity, that gift inclusion rate, we can really be aiming for the stars. At the moment, we know from Smee and Ford that around about 10% of wills that go through probate include a gift in that will. We know the impact that gifts in wills have to the sector. And if we could start getting closer to the number of people who'd consider it or who would like to, than the number of people who actually get round to it, then happy days going forward. Question 9. Would a charity offering you a free will make you more likely to leave that charity a gift in your will? And I guess this is a question kind of across the board. If you were making a will for CR UK or for Macmillan, would the fact that they were the charity behind that scheme make you more likely? Well, 42% of people would. And if you are in the game of offering free will to a wider selection of people, and I know some of the larger charities really are doing that, then you've got a good chance of being included. 58% of people, even if they knew someone, one of the charities was paying for it, but they didn't want to leave a gift in their will, said no, they wouldn't. Now, do with those stats what you will. Our attitudes to the subsidised services which we provide to our charity partners is that we want your supporters to be leaving gifts to you, and that's why you're communicating with them. And we know that around about 60% of across the board of the charities that we work with, 60% gift inclusion rate. And a lot of the times when there's not a gift included, it's when a couple or a spouse make a pair of wills and the other person doesn't leave a gift in that will. But just so you know, if you put it out to the general public, people would consider leaving a gift in your will to you, but at a lower inclusion rate. And the final question, which we asked of our sample, is why you would leave a gift in your will. Now, I'll pop those up. And we can really draw that back to the earlier themes that we had in our breakout for the next one. It's about looking at the help for future generations and to say thank you. So there were a couple of fairly glib answers there, which I'd like to just kind of ignore because I won't need it. That might be a way of saying that they won't need it, and neither would their family. Or if they're not leaving any behind, they can leave 100% to their causes rather than the government, and to ensure that my family don't get it. That's a very small percentage, and I think it should be taken with a pinch of salt. But there are instances in which we see people leaving 100% of their 100% of their estates to charities, and specifically wanting to exclude family members. They're very rare, rarer than this would imply, but they do exist, and it's all about having conversations, those longitudinal conversations with the supporters, especially if they're leaving 100% of their estate, in order to be really clear as to their wishes, and to have that record of the ongoing contact for the rare cases in which wills are challenged. Now, those are the stats. That's kind of bringing it back to the themes that we mentioned at the outset. People wanting to preserve for the future generations, and the feeling of gratitude that people feel to the charity for the work that they're doing, showing what gifts enable, and showing the importance of gifts and wills to the charities. I want you to have another few minutes just thinking about what, if anything, that I've said today might inform the way that you communicate to your supporters. Will it change any of the calls to action, or do you think you've already got them covered, or will it change the focus of what you communicate back to the supporters, or encourage you to understand better the drivers behind the supporters leaving gifts? So if we're going to have 5 minutes, 5 minutes on that before we come back in to kind of share, and then to close, that would be great. Thank you, everybody. I think what I'd like to do is just have a little bit of a more open workshop. If everybody kind of mentions something from your groups as to what if anything, those kind of string of facts that I provided you with, how that will inform your messaging going forwards. And if anyone's got any more general comments when your group comes around, just say those. So can we start with group one? For anyone who remembers whether they were in group one.
That was Chrissy, Marcia, Maddie, Phil, V, and somebody who is ISV Office. I'm not sure who that is.
I was really grateful for Maddie and Phil sharing their experiences, actually, in terms of being practical and having face-to-face will writing info days. Phil shared that was really effective, and Maddie sharing the really hooking the apathy, and that don't put it off, how important it is and how useful that's been. And I'm thinking about the work that I'll be doing and thinking that's actually a really helpful approach to take. And Marcia, I was interested in a bit more of the age demographic from some of the stats. Marcia quite rightly said, actually, there's so many other factors to consider, income and situation in addition to age. So that was useful to realise too.
That was a really good question, a really good point. So this is a YouGov adjusted sample of adults in the United Kingdom. So it's 1,002 people, and they were chosen on a spread of representative demographics. So as people get older, they become more likely to have a will in place. But this is, if you threw a dartboard at the census, all the names spread out, and hit someone random, to be your likelihood that they would have a will or not have a will. Group 2.
Okay, so group 2 was Donna, Karen, Katie, Mel, and Sam.
I think we had some really good conversations. What came out was really interesting, and I found really useful was that it's really useful evidence, those stats that have come out. So when we're thinking about how we present legacy marketing, legacy fundraising to our boards, trustees, etc., how it really evidences the long-term nature, but also the potential that is there with legacy fundraising. So just having some of those numbers that you had was really, really great. And I think echoing room 1, the stat around that sort of inertia and the 44%, how people don't, it's not like a fundraising ask where people consider, make a donation and move on. Like this is, it's not actually just about the gift in the will, it's about the legacy and their will making, and it is long term, and you may have to give them many messages over a long period of time. And I think just showing that huge number of people that need to be helped along that, and what part we can play, but that it's not going to be an overnight decision. So I think, yeah, the numbers were great, I think, for building up those kind of cases and evidencing legacy fundraising to people that don't necessarily aren't close to it within the organisation.
Thank you. Thank you. Group 3.
So that was Holly, Iona, Tracy, and Vanessa.
We said quite similar things in terms of there's a lot more going on behind those stats than the stats give. I went to a legacy session at the IFC a couple of years ago that said 90% of legacies come from childless people. I unfortunately didn't write down if that was value or volume, but I think there's stuff in there around how do you tap into the people that do have children that they want to give to, but also let them know that it's okay to give some to a charity as well. Like and we talked about kind of the need to perhaps share some personal experiences in your messaging, so that it's less that you're like, when you're speaking with supporters, it feels more personal than just a stat saying, oh well, you're part of 44% of people that have done this or haven't done this. Like I've had conversations with my mum about her will, and it absolutely hadn't crossed her mind it had crossed her mind, but she would never leave money to a charity because she was like, well, it all goes to you. And I'm like, I work in legacy giving, please leave some money to a charity. But you
know what, that's a brilliant example. Thank you for sharing of the fact that 43% of people don't want to and wouldn't consider leaving a gift from their will, and that is fine. It's such a deeply personal thing. Not everybody should do it. I think that yes, when people don't have a partner or children, when they die, they can leave 100% without any of that. Or what about the other people who are part of my family that I love? And I don't know the stat, but I imagine that the gifts in amount in cash value from people who are not leaving children behind, but they're also remembering, would be much greater. But yeah, as you said, that's conjecture. Thank you, and thank you for that story about your mum. I appreciate it, Iona. Group 4, that was my group. I'm gonna kind of summarize anything, any takeaways. Thank you, Joanne.
I was just talking about, again, the apathy part, and what we use is we've got a retired probate solicitor that comes in and will do a talk, tales of a probate solicitor, with different scenarios that she's come across during her working life, trying to tap into that apathy of why to make a will, the importance of it. And one particular story, I was saying that she tells is a couple that had been in a relationship for 20 years, didn't live together, weren't married, and one of them died and obviously had got no family, had not made a will, and all the money, £1 million worth of an estate, went to the government. So, that's quite a shocking sort of reality, when you think what we've got in terms of property. A lot of us, we don't realise the value of our property. So when you start to add up what you've got, and that was just an example of one person that kept putting it off and kept putting it off, and unfortunately it was too late.
Yeah, yeah, and I mentioned that it's very similar to the origin story of Make a Will Online, when I represented a lady who'd cohabited for 40 years with the chap who died suddenly but not unexpectedly, who hadn't made a will and had a family from a previous relationship. And she was being asked to move out of her home just after she lost her partner. So grief compounded by a legal fight of no reason that they shouldn't have had a will. So combating apathy is, I think that's more my job than a legacy fundraiser's job, just to get people making wills. That's kind of our manner. The other thing which Leslie brought up, which I thought was really interesting, is about where on the funnel of potential legators you focus. Do you focus at the widest level of all the supporters, or do you focus with more specific stories with the people who are already self-selected, that they want to make a will, they're going for it? How do you spread your resource through that funnel and guide people through in that long-term way? So thank you for that. And finally, group 5.
There wasn't a group 5. There was just 4 groups.
There wasn't a group 5. All
Yeah.
right, well, that shows how much attention I was paying. Sorry.
No, a few people have had meetings to look into. There is another question in the chat, actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so from Leslie asking if they can use the survey stats, in their comms to supporters, and what references they should use.
Yes, so it's we'll share afterwards. It's our research. We engaged YouGov to do it, and I think, as Marsha pulled out, that there are context issues, and they, as with any stats, treat with caution. It's only our sample. One thing that I would have liked to know from the people who are here: is this useful to you? Is this session useful? Is this something we should be repeating this time next year, and recommission in a longitudinal way? If you could just do me the favour of popping your hand up if you think that it is something which you would like to revisit in your campaigns, and just see what trends are there. Okay. That's almost everyone who's here. Oh, blimey, some fantastic animations coming across the screen. Right, got that message loud and clear. Thank you. So we'll come back to it, and Marie and I will share what we've done today with you, along with the link to this seminar.
Well, thank you. So I just want to, Marie, you're on me, but I'll just say, look, huge thank you to everybody for coming. Please, if you've got any questions that you didn't have time to pop in the chat, drop us an email. We can share. And please book in for the next with the amazing Claire Outley. It's going to be a real barnstormer of a session, and get you really drilling into the messaging with one of the foremost experts in this country, Europe, and possibly internationally. Yeah, and just don't forget, if you've got any new staff or you're thinking about internal engagement, or want to book in a catch-up review meeting, then just obviously do that through me. And I'll be sending the resources out from this session when they're ready, probably at the beginning of next week. And if you have 5 minutes to fill the feedback forms in, that would be really useful as well. But great to see you all, and thank you for joining us.